Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the 542nd episode, and we're here talking with some special guests tonight. We've got Joseph Pietri. Pietri, I'm sorry. I knew I was going to blow that. And of course, Kris Millegan. Kris Millegan is local here out of Eugene, lives up in McKenzie. Kris is a book publisher, and what else do we add to that string?
Play some music, and been a cannabis activist for a long time.
Yes, yeah, there you go. And so Kris, I believe, is on the book tour with Joseph and helping him out with his book, I guess. And so you want to introduce?
He's my publisher.
Okay, there you go. So Joe, would you like to introduce your book? And
this is my book. It's called The 15-Ounce Pound, Big Pharma's Plan to Patent Pot. And one of the questions in my book that remains to be answered is how an industrial nation can create a drug war and make Mother Nature's healing plants illegal. Healing plants that we've used for thousands of years, right, illegal, and create a drug war, and then force those laws on countries, non-industrial countries, that have used these medicinal plants for thousands of years legally and freely traded, and now it's illegal for them. So they actually destroyed these cultures where the original medical cannabis came from. People have to remember that prior to 1940, all cannabis was medical. The medical pharmaceutical scene was based, 80% of the medicines were based on cannabis-based medicines. All the big companies today, like Pfizer, Squibb, Lilly, made their fortunes originally from cannabis-based medicines. There was no recreational scene. Those original strains are the best medicine. They were grown in the golden era, the golden age of medical cannabis when it was legally farmed. I don't like the word black market. Black is the period of prohibition, the 75 years that we've made Mother Nature illegal and have made the putting of people in jail a business. It's been freely traded. It's a free market that's been freely traded for thousands and thousands of years. And it's been medicine for thousands of years. None of this stuff that we see today, like the spasmodic and the epileptic uses of CBD and THC, that's been known for hundreds of years. So this book just basically talks about the prohibition and the drug war being a Ponzi scheme for the pharmaceutical companies. They made Mother Nature illegal, Mother Nature's healing plants, cannabis and other plants, and at the same time now they're selling you chemical concocted copies of them. And then I also go over how they've gone to these original source countries and suppressed cannabis cultures, destroyed cannabis cultures, while at the same time getting the genetic information from this field, seeds and samples, and taking those back to the laboratories and finding out the DNA sequence and just calling it their intellectual property. When it's been in use in Korea for 5,000 years. Now, the DEA has trained the law enforcement in all over Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia. You got the Philippine DEA, you got the Thai DEA, you got the Pakistani DEA. The only one that's a free country out there as far as cannabis without under DEA control is North Korea. Okay, they haven't signed that treaty. The UN treaty basically enslaved the countries where the original medical sources came from. And now you have people here that are claiming the medical efficacy of it. It also goes over the fraud, the lies and deceptions that were used to create this cannabis industry in 1985. And also goes to show that in 1985, the Drug Enforcement Agency, which is in the UN report of 2006, had undercover agents in the seed industry from the very, very beginning. And they set up DEA stings in Amsterdam. I don't know if you go back that far, but in the late 80s and early 90s, anything that you ordered from Amsterdam, a lot of those packages and seeds came with heat. So it basically covers that kind of seed. One of the major frauds that are, other than the seed business and the pharmaceutical frauds, one of the biggest frauds has been the lighting fraud, which I did an article for Skunk Magazine called Control Your Cannabis. And I taught photoperiodic control, 12-in-1 technique, which was left out of the grow books for 30 years until I printed it out. And it's taught in the first year of Horticulture 101, where you break up the night period and that keeps the plants in veg. They've had people in using lighting systems that would, if you wanted to replicate outdoors, you'd need 2 suns. Makes no sense, right? But why would they do that? Well, they did it because in the US, we spend $6 billion a year growing indoors. If 12-in-1 and photoperiodic control would have been taught, which is used every day in the nursery flower business, that only would have been $1.5 billion, and $4.5 billion would have stayed in our pockets, growers and consumers. We've been taxed and regulated, and we didn't even know it. And if you multiply that $6 billion over 30 years, that's $135 billion that we've paid the status quo who own the electric companies, right? More than they should have. That would have stayed in our pocket. We should have only paid them $45 billion. When you calculate the fraud around the globe that's being manufactured of the lights and everything that goes with growing marijuana indoors, it's hundreds of billions of dollars.
Somebody came up with a great line the other day, and I thought, wow. They said the only reason we're growing indoors is because it's illegal.
Right.
So once it's legal, we won't need to grow outdoors anymore.
And at the same time,
is that true? What do you think?
I definitely, and I've grown the same strains indoors and outdoors, and the strains outdoors are always better. They're 20 to 30% better, and a heck of a lot more in production. But they're already stating, like here, that they only want to buy indoor weed for the dispensaries. They don't want to buy outdoor weed. It's a real big, it's like they think that the indoor conditions are more controlled, and so they're pushing their indoor weed. But right now, I'll give you an example about 12-in-1 and photoperiodic control. Here in Southern Oregon, one of the most premier growing spots in the world, right? You had farmers who had greenhouses who were following the cockamamie grow books and were putting their greenhouses under 18-6, which added, they were putting 10 1,000 bulbs to make it 18-6 to keep their plants in veg, when all they would have needed was to put a light bulb, a 250-watt CFL light bulb, and break off the night period in the middle of the night, and the PFR quality, the phytochrome level, does not diminish enough for it to induce flowering. So they were spending thousands of dollars a month on lighting they didn't even need. And that's a simple horticultural trick. And there's no such thing as marijuana botany, there's only botany. Marijuana grows no different than any other short day, long night flowering plants, such as poinsettia or chrysanthemums. So for 30 years, the tightly controlled cannabis media has been leading growers by the nose. I have a thing that I say, oh, the person's a zombie grower. What is the definition of a zombie grower? Well, here I am at a booth, and a young kid comes up to me and he's bragging about his 100% female feminized seeds. And he shows me the package. He says, 100% female guaranteed feminized seeds. After I sex them, and wait a minute, why do you have to sex seeds that are 100% female, right? I got 45 males and 55 females. So I quipped, I said, I guess your 100% female seeds were not 100%. With that, he took the packaging out, shoved it in my face, and said, can't you read? It says 100% female seeds. Logic never came into it. So 12-in-1 photoperiodic control, it gets you thinking out of the box like a true horticulturalist. So it covers a lot of these frauds. It covers the seed industry has been controlled by law enforcement since 1985 in Holland. It goes over all the fraud that's in the industry. Basically, you know, the people that are behind the tax and regulate people are the same people that are lobbying the pharmaceutical industry, the big tobacco, the liquor industry. They had a meeting in January about this book. And they thought, well, what's going to happen when this tell-all tells everything about the industry, and what effect it would have on us, right, on our plans? Well, what are the plans of big tobacco? You know what the plans are? Big tobacco was there, liquor industry, pharmaceutical industry, DEA, IRS, the whole deal. They said that in 7 years, the recreational market will be controlled by big tobacco. They're gonna move to take it over, and that the pharmaceutical industry is gonna take over pharmaceutical grade cannabis and supply it to the pharmacies, and patients will have to go to the pharmacies. Okay, then the mayor of Michigan passed a law, a pharmaceutical law, where they created a grade of marijuana, of cannabis, which is pharmaceutical grade. So the governor of Michigan hired a company. There's a huge company now that's growing weed for the state of Michigan that's going to give it to the the pharmacies. That's going to give it to the pharmacies to dispense. You can either go to the pharmacy and get your weed, or you can grow it yourself, but you can't do it both. If you go to the pharmacy, then you lose your grow rights. Same meeting as the governor from Connecticut. They made laws in Connecticut where a registered pharmacist is going to be, has to be at every dispensary. Okay? So here I have a chart from GW that shows that they consider, and this is what they're telling the government, anything above 5% is unsafe. What they want to do, the forces that be, the same people that have been putting us in jail, they want to still be able to control it by being able to supply us with it, and at the same time, the drug war goes on. I'm about ending the drug war, man's greatest inhumanity to man, you know? And letting whatever you want to grow as your own medicine is your business, as long as you're not growing mountains full of weed. I mean, but if you're growing some whatever medicine you can grow in your garden. This is an art form that we've evolved with. We've evolved with cannabis. We've evolved with many medicinal plants that we've been using before recorded history. Nobody gave the pharmaceutical industry the right to make Mother Nature illegal. And that's what I'm about. This is what this book is about.
Interesting. Well, that's great. Excuse me. So how's the response been so far to the book?
It's been very good. It's selling very fast. Today we were checking on the what was that site?
World Catalog, and some
World
universities
Catalog.
are buying it.
And the universities, over a dozen universities have bought the book already. Yeah. Peter McGuire wrote a really nice foreword. I could read it if you want.
Not yet. We're running out of time on this segment. We got to wrap this up pretty quick, and we can talk about it some more. Also, we're going to bring Kris in to talk about the publishing business and what he's been up to. Because this is not the only book that Kris is dealing with, and also we know a little bit about, you wait to hear about some of his background and his parents, or dad actually, so he can talk a little bit about that. So stick around, we'll be right back for the second segment of Eugene Cannabis TV. Be right back.
I mean, herbs are good for everything. Why these people who want to do so much good for everyone, who call themselves governments and this and that, why them say you must not use the herb?
Welcome to the second half of the Eugene Cannabis TV show, episode 542. We're going to be talking to Kris Millegan and Joe Pietri. Did I get it right that time?
Yeah, you did.
I get it all right. And before we get started talking about the book again, I wanted Kris to jump in and talk a little bit about his publishing business and what he's been up to and where he's coming from and how to get to where he's at.
Well, we publish suppressed works. We publish the books that New York doesn't want to, and I got into it because my daddy was a spook many years ago, and he told me some things I didn't understand. One thing he told me, he says, "It's out to opiate your whole generation." Okay, and they didn't want the baby boomers to cohere as a generation. They wanted us just to be a pieced out drug generation, but we did cohere as hippies around a joint being smoked around a circle. And out of the hippies came the personal computer and the internet. Personal computer allows me to make a book, you can make a TV show, you can make videos, you can do anything. You can be very creative, and the internet allows you to tell people about it. And then the other thing I'd like to say is, you know, marijuana is wonderful, cannabis is wonderful, and we hear a lot about recreational, we hear about medicinal, and there's also sacramental. It's a very sacred herb, and it's more than just getting high. Okay, there's as Joe said, we've grown up with marijuana, human beings. I mean, if you look at it from a scientific standpoint, it shows that it's one of the very few plants that's just been around mankind for millennia. And if you look at the Old Testament, it's all through the Old Testament. It's what they're burning in the tabernacle. It's part of the anointing oil. And it's you know, it was used in Hindi, used by the Chinese, and so there's more than just recreational, medicinal. There's also sacramental, and there's just a very long relationship that mankind has had with cannabis. And again, I'll state that the laws against cannabis are completely unconstitutional, and they're done under the color of law. Okay, because the powers that be can do it. Okay, and that's one reason why we support. I mean, a lot of people have, you know, had some bad things to say about Joe, because Joe can be very passionate and but he looked at it and he was right about what he was saying. So we came out with his book, and we urge people to read the book and to understand some of the perfidy, because, you know, we can say, oh, well, isn't marijuana legal now? Well, it's not. You know, the federal government still has, you know, says no, it's not. I mean, why are they dragging their foot on it? You know, and I mean, who is it going to be legal for, and how is it going to be legal? You know, and again, the laws against it are, you know, are unconstitutional. So, and again, I do support. I think that I want to grow it myself.
Yeah, you bet. And by the way, I'm growing finally. My landlady finally let me grow. I got 2 patients. I got 12 plants in the ground, and yeah, they're doing great. I got a late start, so I'm giving them encouragement, telling them go for it, go. It's hoping for a late fall. That's what I'm hoping, late dry fall.
We got some good weather. Weather. I've seen some people's gardens, and they're just doing wonderful.
Excellent. So, Joe, tell us what you...
Well, I get a kick out of them when I hear them say that cannabis is a miracle drug. And, yeah, it's been a miracle drug for 10,000 years. There's nothing new. Everything about the medicinal effects of cannabis is all rediscovery. They were using cannabis for antispasmodics for over 100 years.
I heard somebody one time says, no, somebody called marijuana a drug. He said, no, marijuana's not a drug. Marijuana is a plant with a drug in it.
Yeah. I'm going to read you a chapter of a quote from a friend of mine in my book. As an industry, a friend of mine said, the cannabis economy is a predetermined market, and it is led while hiding economic transformation from those that participate in that market. Look at the cannabis economy as an identified market, a market that will constantly conflict with those with the capital and regulations, along with government protection and tax collection and investors' blessings take it all. When some say cannabis will be legal, your response should be, for whom shall it be legal for?
Yeah.
Okay? So you have these big companies. I mean, I see people growing industrial grows, huge, you know, that if you had something like that in any other state, you'd be in jail for the rest of your life. And how long will it be able to go on? They pulled the rug out from under the old school imports. You never see any imports now. By the way, people say to me, when people say that cannabis today is stronger than the cannabis of the 60s, really, I wish, please bring back the 60s. I mean, give me a Thai stick. I haven't had anything as strong as a Thai stick. I've never had anything as even close to the quality of the Hawaiian weed that we used to get I have never seen anything the quality, the trim and the color and the taste of the high quality Mexican high altitude sativas we used to get. I don't see it. And I don't see any of this stuff being anywhere near some of the hash, the medicinal Afghani. And when I say medicinal hash, hash was produced for the medicinal market, for the pharmaceutical industry, for hundreds and hundreds of years, for thousands of years. But for the 150 years before they made it legal, the British had an exclusive on that trade. And they would, in Central Asia, from Eastern Turkestan to Pakistan, they grew indica plants exclusively for the pharmaceutical industry in America and in China and in England. So, I mean, you know, cannabis has always been medicine first, recreational second. Now it's sort of been turned around. Me, when I grow weed, I grow a cannabis. I have 8-9 patients. I grow old school strains. I look for the original medical strains. This book also states, shows you how the pharmaceutical industry, with the help of the DEA, in bed with the DEA, have, at the same time that they've destroyed cannabis cultures in Nepal, in Colombia, in Mexico, wherever they go, they're destroying cannabis. At the same time, they go into the field to destroy the cannabis. They have botanists go out in the field under UN protection. They take seed samples, they take plant samples before the crops are destroyed. So they're destroying the original medical strains while at the same time figuring out the DNA sequences of it so that they can patent the intellectual, the medicinal use of that plant as their intellectual property.
Another thing, by the way, Joseph, I just thought of something too. You might tell the audience about your experience in the Mideast and hash and your prior books.
I also wrote the book, The King of Nepal, Life Before the Drug War, and Kris published it. I've been in the cannabis. I've been smoking cannabis since 1963. Been in the cannabis trade over 50 years. Lived in Asia. Smuggled out of Nepal. Smuggled out of Afghanistan. Smuggled out of Pakistan, India, Nepal, Thailand, Laos. I tell people, well, you know, I've been extradited from Pakistan, dragged out of chains by out of Laos, and was chased out of Nepal twice. So I sold a lot of Colombian, a lot of Mexican weed. I doubt if anybody on the planet, there's a few people left that has the expertise or the knowledge that I have when it comes to old school marijuana.
I was told to leave a county in California one time, but I've never been kicked out of country. That's all right.
I've been chased out of countries, but I have a picture of me in here. What page is that on? Here, and this is me, my first grow in Nepal in 1970, summer of '71. I was growing a Laotian Acapulco Gold Cross. And I was growing Acapulco Gold the summer before in Nepal, but the monsoon season was so heavy, and these were like, you know, high altitude cannabis. When the monsoon killed them, so then I bred them into a Laotian strain, and this was what happened. They came out pretty nice.
Wow, how bigger than you are.
Yeah, they were like, you know, they were 2-3 meters. In Nepal, wherever you go in Nepal, farmers grow cannabis for medicine. They feed it to their animals when they want to fatten them up. They use them for household medicine. They use the stalk to make baskets. They use every part of the plant. And when America in '73 paid off the Nepalese government to make hashish marijuana illegal, right? A black market was created in Nepal where there was never a heroin junkie, right? There was no junkies in Nepal. All of a sudden you had a heroin problem in Nepal. Then all of a sudden you had a coke problem in Nepal. And for the first time ever, you saw little kids in the bazaar selling drugs. Before, people would go into the shops and buy like it was any kind of other merchandise. See, I believe that cannabis should be treated the same as tomatoes and should be sold in a farmer's market.
Amen.
Right? And whoever has the best pot gets the highest price. Let's bring it back to the old school way.
I've always said I want control on marijuana like tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And at the same time, I mean, you go into these coffee shops, the dispensaries here, and whatever it is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's $10 a gram. Back in our day, if it was good, bad, indifferent, the one that was good got the most money. It wasn't you got the same amount for crap. Okay, and nowadays there's like before they were keeping the buds, they were taking some of the leaf and trimming it way down so that they could make tinctures and oils with it. Now they're re-keefing the buds, and when you walk into a dispensary, everything is 26% THC or 25% THC, but they've already rolled their buds in cannabis. So there is need for regulations and for people to have some morals and some integrity, which I find it very hard to find in this industry. Not like when we had it and we shaked hands and the deal was done.
Let me ask you a quick question. Somebody told me that anything over 17% THC is bullshit. It's impossible.
No, I've seen stuff that was 17, and I've seen stuff that was 19, I've seen stuff that was really 20. But a lot of these times, when you go to the cup and they say it's 24% or 23%, they'll grow 10 pounds, they'll pick out the best buds, the other 9 pounds they'll tumble for 2 minutes, take all that top fluff off, stick it in the bag with the buds that they're going to turn in for the samples for the cup, and then they give it to the cup, and that's how they get high. But you know, I have a CBD plant that's 10.4% THC and 6.7% CBD. Wow. And I thought it was an African plant, a Nigerian. And I thought to myself that I was going to lose the strain. I lost some clones, so I had to rejuvenate the mother. And when that I already flowered. So I rejuvenated the plant, grew it out the next year, had it tested again. It was 19% THC.
Well, wow.
How do you explain that?
Sorry to run out of time so quick and unannounced, but we're out of time.
Well,
so,
good.
Thanks so much for coming in. We learned
thank
so
you.
much.
So we agreed on something, right?
You bet, Joe. Thanks for coming, and Kris, appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
We're out of here.